I got the bank transfer notification while I was installing a wheelchair ramp on a mobile home 40 miles out of town. I was on my knees, drill in hand, helping a retired Marine who'd lost both legs in Fallujah. He offered me water. I told him I was fine. That's when my phone buzzed. Deposit confirmed, $94,300 transferred. I didn't recognize the name on the account, but I recognized the hole in my stomach, like someone had pulled the floor out from under me and left only the silence. My name is Ellis Granger. I'm 61. I was a U.S. Army lieutenant for over 2.5 decades. These days I live modestly, but I sleep with my windows unlocked, because I learned that the ones who really hurt you don't break in. They walk in with a key. His name was Travis Malone. We served together. Bosnia, 1996. He called me brother, said I was his last anchor, presented a project for a veteran shelter like it was our final mission, promised rooms named after battlefields, warm meals, trauma support. But more than that, he made me feel useful again. I wrote the check by hand, handed it to him in person, said, "Go for it." 2 days later, he vanished. His phone rang and dropped. Emails bounced back. User not found. The non-profit, just a cheap website and a mailing box in a dead mall in Arizona. On day 3, I drove to the site. The sign was knocked over, dry ground, no construction, no crew. The key he gave me didn't open a thing, not the gate, not a door, not even trust. I stood there, didn't say a word, because you learn early. Shouting doesn't save anyone. Planning does, and while the world thought I'd been scammed, I was already 3 steps ahead. Travis didn't ask for the money all at once. He laid the trap like a tactician. First, he showed me the blueprint. 3 living units, a shared kitchen and a multi-purpose hall with a sign, "You are not alone." It was what I used to say to rookies during breakdowns. He remembered. Then he took me to the land, said he got it dirt cheap from a widowed farmer who respected veterans, asked me to co-sign the non-profit as co-founder for tax exemption purposes. I signed, because when someone bleeds beside you, you don't treat them with suspicion, you treat them like a brother. The first crack came one Wednesday afternoon at the city permit office. "You said, Base New Life?" the woman at the counter asked, eyebrows raised. She typed it in, shook her head. "That name's not listed, no permit, no non-profit." I smiled, just said, "Probably still processing." But something snapped inside. I went home, opened my laptop, typed the EIN number from the donation contract. The entity existed, but it had only been registered 3 days before the first deposit. Address, Phoenix, Arizona. Listed legal owner, Travis E. Malone. Registered activity, Rural Consulting Services. It wasn't a non-profit, it was a private company, for profit. I reopened the contract, noticed his signature was in a different font than mine. Didn't even look handwritten. I zoomed in. It wasn't ink, it was an image. The truth started to unravel, but one memory hit me like a punch to the chest. The night I gave him the check, we were on my porch. He held a green olive mug, the kind we used at base, chipped at the rim. "We lost good men, Ellis," he said. "At least now we can do something with the time we've got left." Remember closing my eyes, taking a deep breath and feeling for 1 second that maybe it all made sense. Now I see. He used the memories, the words, the voices of the ones who cried with me in Sarajevo as ammunition. And while I crumbled in silence, trying to grasp the scale of it, he was already using my name to raise funds from others, other veterans, other brothers. I told no one, not even Tom, who serves coffee every morning at the gas station where I stop. Not my daughter, who calls every Sunday to check if the heater still works. The shame was still mine, but the response was already taking shape. The next morning, I went to the garage and pulled out a grey folder from under the tool panel. Inside was the contact of the only man I knew who never asked for explanations, Mick Dorsey. We served in the same company. Now he works as a private investigator in Helena. No ads, no socials, referral only. I made the call. "Ellis, I need to verify a social security number, 2 business registrations, and maybe track some bank activity." Name, Travis E. Malone. What did he do? I'll tell you later. 3 days later, I got the first report. Travis had 2 inactive companies in other states, 1 bankruptcy filed in New Mexico, and a misappropriation case from 2017, closed due to lack of evidence after the whistleblower died in 2019. But what stood out most was what Mick said at the end of the report. Ellis, he's done this before. In Idaho, 2021. Same tactic, same veteran shelter speech. Another man signed as co-founder, another check, another silence. I started recording everything, every bank call, every old message from Travis, that porch conversation, even the video of the key handoff saved on a GoPro I use for hiking trips. Meanwhile, Mick kept digging and found something that flipped the game. Travis was using my name as an official reference to apply for emergency credit lines. He used my veteran status from the VA system to get approvals. Forged statements, forged signatures. He even used my military award as proof of legitimacy. I went to the National Guard base in Billings, where I still go for checkups. Spoke with Major Telford, an old contact. I need help, but no report just yet. Is this internal? It's more than that. You want me to listen or file? Just listen for now. I showed him the documents, the evidence, the connections to Travis's name. Telford closed the folder slowly, looked me straight in the eye and simply said, "You have the discipline, now have the patience, he'll fall." That's when I knew the board had shifted, not because I yelled, but because I started laying the trap, one piece at a time, that he'd never see coming. What Mick found the following week changed everything. Travis wasn't acting alone. He was part of a network involving at least 3 others, 2 with fraud records tied to public funds, and a third that I knew, Lucas Grady, former logistics officer. We served on the same base in Stuttgart. Now, he's the director of a community management consultancy in Flagstaff, Arizona, sister company to Phoenix Rural Solutions. Same partners, same parent EN, same pattern of vanished funds. They use different names, throwaway websites, and the same script, shelters for veterans, and they always fronted someone with a clean military record, someone like me. That's when the pain began to shift. I started watching the old videos. I had recorded Travis's visits, not out of suspicion, but because I keep a porch security cam. In one, he's sitting with me, sipping coffee. We were lucky to come back. But what about the ones who didn't come back whole? There's still people out there who believe in the uniform, Ellis. Let's give them what the government never did. The way he said it, it wasn't an act. It was belief, but belief in the con. I went back through the messages. One hit me like lead. Brother, if this shelter happens, I swear I'll sleep without pills again. I had to pause, close my eyes, breathe. Because sometimes, even when you know it's a lie, it still hurts like the truth. That's when Mick called. I accessed an old email of Travis's. There's a spreadsheet with 11 names. Veterans, donors, even a few still serving, all used as fronts for credit applications. 11 stories like mine, scattered across Utah, Texas, Colorado. 11 men and women he called brother. I made a decision. Went back to Major Telford and asked to formalize the complaint. Handed over everything, documents, videos, audio files, told him I was ready. But before I left the base, he called me back. "You're going to want to see this." On his screen was a report from the Department of Veterans Affairs. Travis had used my VA ID to get approved for a federal emergency housing grant and had received an extra $42,000 under my name, without my consent. My name, my record, my life. He used everything, and the worst part, he was trying to do it again, with a different name, in another state. But what he didn't know was that I had already alerted the right people, and the trap was already set. The FBI knocked on Travis's door on a Tuesday morning. There was no chase, no shouting, no gunfire. Just a blonde agent in a navy blue suit, calmly handing over a warrant and saying, "Mr. Malone, we have some questions regarding your activities with federal funds and the use of veteran identities." I wasn't there, but I saw the video, because someone filmed it. One of his neighbors in Flagstaff posted the footage on Facebook. And for the first time, Travis looked lost, like he didn't understand what was happening, like the story he wrote had finally gone off script. The video went viral in veteran support groups across the country. Hundreds of comments. This guy tried the same thing with me. Finally, someone exposes these leeches. He used my late father's name. Agent Telford called me 2 days later. "Granger, it's official. The FBI is taking over the case. Interstate interests. Use of VA resources. Attempted fraud against the federal government." And there's more. We found links to 2 public officials who approved his applications. This operation is bigger than we thought. 2 days after that, I got an unexpected call. It was Kathy Owens, a journalist with the Spokane Record. One of the victims, the retired sergeant from Idaho, was her brother. She wanted to tell the story, not as a scandal, but as a warning. I agreed to speak under one condition. No sensationalism, no spectacle, just the truth. The article came out the following Sunday with a quiet headline, "A Brother's Silence: How One Veteran Took Down a Scam, Targeting His Own." The impact was immediate. More victims came forward. The FBI formally charged them with stealing government funds, forging veteran identities, and falsifying official documents. They weren't just scamming individuals like me. They were deceiving the country they claimed to serve, and now they were going to answer for it. At the preliminary hearing, the prosecutor presented a complete timeline using the documents Mick and I had submitted. But the most powerful moment came from a recording, the one where Travis said, "Ellis, we're giving these guys their dignity back. They just need to believe." Right there in the courtroom, in front of dozens of retired uniforms, the prosecutor paused the video and said, "And that's exactly what he stole. Dignity." Travis was taken away in handcuffs. The judge denied bail. Lucas Grady had already fled but was located by the U.S. Marshals in New Mexico 3 weeks later. And me, I went home without saying a word. But something inside me had shifted. The FBI knocked on Travis's door on a Tuesday morning. No chase, no shouting, no gunfire. Just an agent in a navy blue suit handing over the warrant calmly saying, "Mr. Malone, we have some questions about the use of veterans' names in federal loan applications." I wasn't there, but I saw the video. A neighbor filmed it on their phone and posted it. Soon it was everywhere, in every veteran group across the country. Travis, head down, being placed into a black car with a government seal on the door. The response was immediate. This guy tried the same thing with me. Finally, someone exposes these parasites. He used my brother's name, my brother who died in service. It was like all the pieces finally came together, and not just for me. Major Telford called me 2 days later. "Ellis, it's official now. The FBI took over, and there's more to this than we thought." He said Travis was part of a forgery ring operating across 3 states. They used real veterans' names to access government money, subsidies, and loans, and in many cases, those veterans didn't even know they were being used. "You weren't the first victim," Telford said, "but you might be the last." I gave them everything: messages, contracts, videos, even the porch conversation recording, the one where Travis said, "If this shelter gets off the ground, I swear I'll finally sleep without pills." That quote made it into the preliminary hearing. The prosecutor played the audio in front of the judge and a courtroom full of retired veterans. "And that's exactly what he stole," the prosecutor said. "Peace, dignity, the trust between brothers." The FBI formally charged them with stealing government funds, forging veteran identities, and falsifying official documents. They weren't just deceiving individuals like me. They were deceiving the country they claimed to defend, and now they would have to answer for it. Travis was arrested. Lucas Grady tried to run, but was found 3 weeks later at a rented ranch in New Mexico. The story ran on every local news station, but what truly got to me was a letter. It arrived 3 days after the arrest, with no return address. Just one line on the envelope: "You were never alone." It took me 3 days to open it. A plain envelope, no official stamp, no sender's name. Inside, a single sheet of paper, handwritten with firm, almost military penmanship. "My husband served honorably for 18 years. When he fell for that scam, we thought the shame would swallow us whole. But your story came just as we were about to give up. You don't know us, but you saved our home. Thank you, Ellis." I read it once, then again. The third time, I pinned it to the fridge with a magnet, not to remember what I'd been through, but to remember what I'd stopped others from going through. 2 months later, I sold the ranch. I couldn't walk to the fence line without remembering the signature I gave out there. I bought a modest cabin near Flathead Lake. 4 rooms, no luxury, but it's mine. I planted a pine tree in the yard, and I hung the old fake shelter key on one of its branches. It's still there, swaying in the wind, a reminder that even when everything feels like a lie, some truths still stand tall. I haven't slept perfectly since, but Scout, the German shepherd I adopted last month, doesn't seem to mind. He lies by the door every night, in silence. And there, on that plain wooden floor, I finally understood. It wasn't revenge, it was justice, silent, slow, and final.